Ricky Carmichael, Texas resident Heath Voss, and the rest of the riders are all betting that they will arrive in Las Vegas, Nevada with good odds of taking home the title. Let's take a look at the THQ World Supercross GP point standings after one round. It's Carmichael, Larocco, Ferry, Nick Way, and Heath Voss currently in the top 5. So coming into stop number 2 in Vancouver, Canada, Ricky Carmichael has to be the favorite after an impressive performance in Toronto. Right now, he is standing by with our Jamie Little.
So Ricky Carmichael, fresh off his first win for Suzuki and his first World Supercross win. And Ricky, it seems to me like you're taking this World Supercross title pretty seriously.
Yeah, you know, I think it's something that everybody needs to do. And, you know, I'm on a new team this year, and I really felt like I needed to do these races. I didn't do it the first year, and I regret that. And, you know, I'm glad to be back racing Supercross and be in a country that I've never been to.
And the fans are loving it. As you heard them, they're getting so riled up. Let's talk now about the track here. There's a lot of different opinions about the dirt, about the setup. What is your opinion?
It's really soft. You know, it's like sand, kind of like last weekend in Toronto. So, you know, it's tough to ride. It kind of goes away a little bit, and the lines change every lap. So it's pretty technical, more technical than I thought it would be.
Well, the good news is it is going to be a great race. And for more on the track, let's go down to Cameron Steele.
Well, Jamie, you heard Ricky talk about the soft dirt, and I wanted to show you a really tricky spot on the track, and it's partially because of how the dirt is. They're going to come out of this corner over here. They're either going to single double or they're going to triple from the outside of the corner. They're going to come in here, and what they're trying to do is set up for this triple jump over this deeper section. And what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to seat bounce off of these lines right here. Look at the ruts that develop, and they develop very quickly. Take a look at this. There's also rocks throughout this whole track, and they just start moving up and turning themselves up. So you got to pick your line, seat bounce it, which means sit down and jump across. Where you see those green flagger guys, that's where they're trying to land. Riders have been coming up short, chasing it. It's been really sketchy. This could be a turning spot in the track, Todd.
All right, thank you, Cameron. Should be a very interesting track. We come back. It's the heat races from Vancouver. The THQ World Supercross GP is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. By MX vs. ATV Unleashed, coming February 2005 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And by Nissan. Everything we touch, we shift. And everything we shift, we try to make better. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia. We're in BC Place Stadium for round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Todd Ayers along with Cameron Steele. I'll tell you what, this place is enormous. In fact, it's the largest air-supported dome in the world. The last time we were in Vancouver, more than 20 years ago. And they do it right here because Vancouver's going to host the 2010 Winter Olympic Games. So well done. I'll tell you what, World Supercross GP has a rich history, and we talked to the reigning champ, Heath Voss, on his thoughts on this great sport.
For me, when I go on vacation, usually the first couple days are fun, then I want to be back home doing something again. And the cool thing about racing in Europe is that you race for a couple days and you got a couple days off, and then you're back riding for a couple days, so it's kind of like the perfect vacation. I wish there was maybe like 5 or 6 rounds instead of just 2, and like 3 or 4 in Europe would be good, and it'd be awesome to go to Australia and maybe to Japan and a few other places. Yet, you know, I know it costs a lot of money, and it's a big effort to make this happen, along with the 16 other races that they're involved with, the U.S. Supercross Series, and you know, I hope it happens, but it's going to take time.
Here's how you advance to the main event, the 250 class, 2 heats, 8 transfer, 2 semis, 10 transfer, and 1 LCQ, as we take a look at our starting grid for 250 heat number 1.
Mike Larocco came through with a great finish last week, 2nd place, but Nick Way has been on fire, and Tyler Evans also looks good. Should be a stacked heat. Can't wait to check this one out. Let's get to it.
250 heat number 1 is off and running from Canada.
And it looks like number 73, Justin Buckaloo, aboard the Moto Triple X Honda with a great hole shot.
Justin Buckaloo is out in front. Behind him, it's number 33. That is Jason Thomas on board a new ride, and Thomas trying to make a run on the outside, but it's Buckaloo and Thomas right now going 1 and 2. Nick Way now trying to make his move into the top 3.
And Buckaloo coming last week with the 15th place right there. That triple over that deep section. You saw Justin do it. He's an off-injured rider. A lot of time on the sidelines over the last couple years. Tons of people really digging one of their favorite riders. You see right there, Doug DeHaan, the number 80 coming to the screen, your top finisher from last week in Canada, 10th place.
So it's Buckaloo, DeHaan, and Thomas, 1, 2, and 3. And look at this. Right off the bat, Jason Thomas not wanting to sit in third. He will try to move in, but DeHaan holds him off.
Your top finishing Canadian rider, he was introduced in opening ceremonies here tonight, and before the race I was talking to him, he's all, hey, I'm not going to have that one really deep voice, but I'm getting introduced. I'm super pumped, so I know he's really fired up. He's riding a borrowed bike, didn't bring his bike over from last week, borrowed a bike for Brian Lockhart, another Canadian rider who's just riding the 125 this week, so he says he's getting a little bit used to the bike, but feeling good.
This is 250 heat number 1 from Vancouver. We're in the BC Place Stadium, and look at that. Oh my. Let's quickly check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, Doug DeHaan right now is getting a battle on his hands, but he has been racing in Canada and the United States for the last 10 years. He just gave us word that he signed with Butler Brothers MX for next year. He's going 250 full-time, and he will be running a Honda. So good news for Doug DeHaan.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Back in the action. Look at this camera. We got 3 wide going for 1 spot. DeHaan able to hold off, but Tyler Evans now in the fray.
Very aggressive moves by Tyler Evans. You saw him get right by Jason Thomas, bulldog his way past on the inside, and then straight on past Doug DeHaan and the whoops, and Tyler looking very good. Remember, last week, he didn't have a lot of time on his motorcycle. Oh, coming up short there. And Tyler riding for Bloodshot and Skaterade, some new sponsors he put together himself, and he says he is fit and ready to go. He's been training with Mark Smith, who's a cage fighter, and he's really been helping him out with his endurance.
That's just what we need is Tyler Evans training with a cage fighter, as if he's not tough enough already. There's Doug DeHaan, number 80 on the Yamaha. He is starting to get pressure now. He was currently in second. He has dropped back, and that is number 27, Nick Way, who is giving him the most heat.
And you saw Nick Way get across that triple section, as did all those guys. Very tricky. As we move on, this track is going to deteriorate, and you will see some rocks pop up. Jason Thomas going to the inside, trying to make move, also moving in there. Look at this battle. 4 riders.
This is fantastic. Number 27, Nick Way, he's now over on board a Honda, and Mike LaRocco started to get into it. So on the left of your screen, that is Nick Way. Then it's Doug DeHaan, number 80. Check that as LaRocco sliding up into pack.
That's Jason Thomas right there, the number 33 bike behind him. A lot of bikes there and a lot of action going on. Todd, this is great racing.
So it's Way, then Thomas, as the rest of the field starts to come through. Behind Thomas, it's DeHaan.
Oh, look at that right there. Nick Way going for the tabletop to tabletop. Very few riders do it. You see him stretching himself out just a little bit on Jason Thomas, but Jason Thomas has another problem. He's about to have Mike LaRocco all over him, and the Rock coming last week with the 2nd place finish. He's still riding his 04 machines, but he's very used to them, and he feels comfortable on the bike.
So it's Buckaloo, Evans, Way, and Thomas, the top 4 right now. Remember, the top 4 go to the main event. Everyone else goes on to the semi. Nick Way, we talked about him making the jump over from Suzuki, now on board a Honda. Cameron, you had a chance to visit with him earlier. What are his thoughts? Does he feel pretty confident?
Well, a couple things is he really likes the sponsorship program. He has MDK Racing and MSR really get behind him. And he's been working on the motorcycle. He's got a steeper rake to the forks this week for the first time in a long time. He says it turns much better.
So Nick Way currently sits in 3rd place. It's Buckaloo, Evans, Way, and Jason Thomas. Mike LaRocco currently sits in number 5. So LaRocco has some work to do here in Vancouver, British Columbia. When we come back, we'll have more of the THQ World Supercross GP from Vancouver after this. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia. We're in the BC Place Stadium, part of the THQ World Supercross GP. Stop number 2, your leader in 250 heat number 1 is Justin Buckaloo. He got the whole shot, and he is moving on. Buckaloo, Evans. Then it's Nick Way in 3rd. Mike LaRocco has now moved up to 4th, and Jason Thomas has slid back to 5th.
Well, if you're Justin Buckaloo, you probably don't want to see this in the rearview mirror. Tyler Evans Evans going tabletop to tabletop. He wasn't able to get the step off at the end. It's very tricky. But look at Evans back on the balls of his feet, back on the pegs, and really get through the whoops well. You see him drop down a bit, but now he's looking for a spot to get around Buckaloo. There, that triple over that deep section. Evans going to the inside. He's going to take the line. Oh, not able to get the drive. He's going to have to double the triple. And you see also Nick Way is going to take advantage of that. Zip by with more momentum in the whoops. That really cost him.
We have got a great battle here. This is lap 6 of scheduled 8, 250, heat number 1. The top 4 move right on in. And look at this, Nick Way makes the move. So it's Buckaloo, number 73, Nick Way, number 27, on board the Honda, and Tyler Evans now sits in 3rd as Evans makes a slight bobble and Nick Way gets past him.
Well, speaking of Nick Way before the race, he said, you know, I really should be on the podium. Shouldn't be a problem for me. I should be out there winning heat races. And, well, right now, he's really looking like he could prove that. Getting by Buckaloo, just leaving the door open. A mistake for Justin. He should not have done that. And here comes Evans on the other side. Will he quad? He does. He follows. Oh, and hops across with Way. We may have a battle here for the win.
So in the space of 50 yards, Justin Buckaloo goes from 1st to 3rd. Nick Way is your current leader right there, number 27. Behind him is number 47, Tyler Evans. A fantastic sequence of events here in Vancouver, Cameron. Here it was one more time.
Well, you see Way with the drive going outside. Looks like Buckaloo pulls up just a bit. Nick dives the inside, and Justin just leaves it totally wide open. I'm almost surprised that Evans didn't jab his nose inside as well.
He did shortly thereafter. Your leader, number 27, that's Nick Way out of Michigan. Tyler Evans, number 47, out of California, sits in 2nd place. The white flag is out. One more lap to go in 250, heat number 1.
One thing you can really see, if you look at the dirt, you see the bike sliding around just a little bit. Very difficult for the tire company to pick a tire here and go with the tire pressure they were comfortable with. Because it's loose, they want to drop the tire pressure. But because of all the rocks, they couldn't do it. So they had to go to a more aggressive tread pattern. Seems to be working out, but you do see the rider sliding around a bit. There's that step off. Wow, that is such a scary and tricky spot of the track.
The dirt is called Glacier Till. And we're not sure exactly what glacial till is, Cameron, but it has got all kinds of different properties in it. Minerals making it unbelievable. Listed so many minerals in it, sounds more like a cereal. Meanwhile, Nick Way continues to lead. He is Tyler Evans in 2nd, Justin Buckaloo in 3rd, and Mike LaRocco in 4th, the final transfer position. But Nick Way got a terrible start, but Cameron, ever since about the 4th lap, he has been on it. One more left-handed turn, and Nick Way will pick up the victory here in heat number 1.
And you can see right now, training is going to be a big factor tonight. Lap times over a minute in that heat. I was talking to the Carmichael group, and they were saying they probably haven't seen lap times like that since New Orleans, and that was years ago. We haven't raced in New Orleans in quite some time, and a long track may favor Ricky Carmichael. We'll have to see how the training of some of the other riders fit into that.
So as we take a look at our Suzuki final results, 250 heat number 1 from Vancouver. It's Nick Way picking up the victory, followed by Tyler Evans, Justin Buckaloo, and Mike LaRocco, all transferring on to the main event. Right now, let's send it down to Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, there's been a lot of talk about Mr. Nick Way. Just because he's a privateer now, I think it's safe to say we cannot count you out. You rode your heart out there. Tell me about that battle with Evans, though. It looked like you even had a miss shift at one point.
Yeah, the track's really soft here tonight, but fortunately for me, my MDK Motorsports Pro Circuit backed MSR bike, got me out front, so that's where I wanted to be.
All right, I know things have changed up a bit for you, but things are rolling. You're bringing in your own sponsors, and I hear that you just got your own track with Sean Hamlin.
Yeah, you know, I can't say enough about everyone getting behind me this year. MDK Motorsports has been, shoot, more than I could believe how much they helped out. And, you know, Pro Circuit, Mitch is doing a great job for me. MSR, all my sponsors from last year for having my back. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I got something to prove this year, and I feel like I'm stepping up.
All right, guys, so far he is stepping up, and we're going to send it back on up to you to make the call for Heat 2.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. It's now time for the MX versus ATV Unleashed track facts. Main composition, Cameron, Glacial Till.
450 truckloads, 9,000 tons, 6,200 cubic yards of dirt to make this track.
Well, the track was prepped, screened dirt. The racing conditions that you heard from Nick Way, very fine indeed. The track length about 1.5 miles. Unbelievable. Ricky Carmichael will be in our next heat, heat number 2, as he gets set to go. Number 4, a familiar face. Good to have him back on the circuit.
Oh, Ricky Carmichael, we saw him in practice pioneer that tabletop to tabletop and then step-off jump. not that many riders decided to do it with him. And I asked Ricky, you know, before the race started, Ricky, why did you pioneer that? Why not just wait till the end of practice and not let anybody do it? He goes, you know what? I just wanted to do it. I wanted to throw down and get ready for what I was going to do with the racing.
So Carmichael is set to go as we take a look at the starting grid for this 250 heat number 2. Carmichael's there, as is Tim Ferry, Heath Voss, Keith Johnson, Damon Huffman, Clark Stiles in there, Brian White. Don't want to miss out on James Pavoli also in there. And we can't forget this man, running number 1, that's Heath Voss. He is the defending THQ World Supercross GP champion.
Starting next to the board there, he starts in first gear so he gets the jump. But he says sometimes he has a hard time getting to that shift, and you can see he's dropped back a bit.
Carmichael got pinched on the inside, thought he was going to get the whole shot, almost lost the back tire, but was able to salvage it. So Carmichael shuffled to the back of the pack, and look at this.
And you saw right there, that was the number 23 Moto Triple X bike of Kyle Lewis coming long in that section and facing it. He's left Clark Stiles all the way out front by himself on the MXPrivateer.net ride. So right now, Clark Stiles holding down the first place position, but last week we saw him fumble the ball a little bit in the heat race with Ricky Carmichael. He had a misstep, and as we talk about it, Clark Stiles has another misstep. Ricky Carmichael goes by, but now the key thing is, can he hold on to the top 4 position?
Well, this is a familiar sign as Ricky Carmichael goes to the lead, and Kyle Lewis tries to duck underneath, and it's Carmichael out in front, Kyle Lewis in second. Last week in Toronto, Cameron, you saw Kyle Lewis had the lead, and Carmichael made the pass on him.
He definitely rode great. I asked Kyle Lewis kind of jokingly during the track walk, hey, Kyle, you know, if it came down to really bumping with Ricky for the win, would you do it? He goes, he do it, I do it, I'm ready for the battle. And right now they're running 1 and 2 a little bit farther apart than they need to be for bumping. But, an uncharacteristic misstep for Ricky Carmichael there. Maybe trying to line up that tabletop to tabletop. You saw him chase a jump there.
Your leader is Ricky Carmichael. Kyle Lewis sits in second, then it's Clark Stiles. That is the top 3 right now. Heath Voss is trying to close in a position. Do you think nerves are still a factor? Ricky's got the speed. We saw him in practice, but he's in front of the stadium now. I think he got a little bit of nerves there when he came into that first turn, especially on the start.
I don't know. We call it casing when they land in the middle of the motorcycle on the mound there, and he did that, which is uncharacteristic. But I don't know if it's nerves or maybe just he caught a little rock. Remember, there's rocks all over this track coming out. Scrubbing speed there off the jump. Ricky has been looking phenomenal, and I was talking to his trainer, Alden Baker, and they said just out of luck during the week, they decided to run 25-lap motos on their Supercross track in case they saw some longer tracks this season. And then we come to one of the longest lap times they've seen in a long time. Ricky, the only person breaking lap times under a minute.
Well, we talked to him, Cameron, you and I, during the track walk, and I'll tell you what, he is in such great shape right now. His trainer has got him in just unbelievable shape. And there you're looking at the gap between Ricky and second place. That's number 23, Kyle Lewis. Here's the bow. Wow, look at that, number 1, Heath Voss, the defending THQ World Supercross GP champion, goes right by Kyle Lewis. I don't know if Kyle knew he was that close, but Voss now moves into second. Lewis slides back to third.
You know, I'm not sure if it was the slippery dirt, but in practice, I saw Heath Voss take a couple soil samples. He actually ended up on the dirt a couple times, and he just didn't look totally comfortable. But right now, it looks like he's got it nailed on. Have to look at and see what might have caused those problems, but right now he's getting good traction and looking comfortable aboard that Yamaha.
So Heath Voss sits second, Kyle Lewis sits in third. Let's look at the pass one more time, Cameron.
Well, it looks like he's just got a better run on the whoops. You can see his body position. He's back on the motorcycle, really driving through the whoops. Kyle, a little bit more neutral on his motorcycle, a little bit farther forward, maybe causing him to drop a bit.
And he's already starting to put a gap on Kyle Lewis. So it's Carmichael, Voss, Lewis, and Ferry. Your top 4. Tim Ferry trying to move up. But can he catch Kyle Lewis? This is 250, heat number 2 from Vancouver. Your leader, Ricky Carmichael. When we come back, we'll have the conclusion of heat 2. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the THQ World Supercross GP round number 2 from BC Place Stadium. Well, we've talked about the history of the World Supercross GP. We're also looking to the future, and we had a chance to talk to one of the men behind the movement.
I think it's always been recognized that if you were the champion of the AMA Supercross Series, you were always recognized as the world champion, the best rider in the world. But since 1992, there has been a FIM World Supercross Championship, and the list of winners is quite impressive. But the World program never quite had the legitimacy that the AMA Series had. And in order really to take advantage of the global popularity of the sport and the global opportunities of marketing and licensing, it really was the next natural step of the evolution of the sport. You know, ideally, I think I'd like to see this thing continue to globalize. You know, there's a natural fit, I think, at some time for there to be an event in Australia and Japan. Our national champion with the AMA Series is from Australia. Most of the motorcycles that are in this program come from Japan, so I think there's still some international direction in which to play to that will, again, help to focus on the strengths of the sport and the strengths of the business.
Welcome back to BC Place Stadium, just north of the border, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. You are watching number 4, Ricky Carmichael, do his magic in heat number 2 of the 250 class on that unfamiliar Suzuki, but he's found a home, and the Suzuki is serving him well. If you notice, Cameron, on the back of those Fox pants, he's got RC with the Lightning Bolt, BC, for British Columbia. So Ricky giving out a little Canadian love.
Always coming up with creative things. I think all the guys at Fox get together. They kind of dig doing that kind of stuff for the fans. And, wow, that jump, every time you see it, I mean, I can't tell you just how risky that is, jumping to that flat section. Ricky whipping the bike out. And this section here, right, Ricky Carmichael seat bouncing over that small triple. It gets deep, and it's very steep in there. That's why all the riders are trying to avoid that section. And it's so risky looking every time they set up for it. Down on the seat, just bounce out of it, and seat bouncing is what we call it, to get a little more altitude.
Well, Carmichael, as I said at the start of the show, looked like he had a case of nerves or something, but I'll tell you what, as every lap goes by, Cameron, he looks smoother and smoother. Unbelievable the way Ricky Carmichael is working this very long. He has just dipped under the 1 minute mark on lap time, went a 59.617. 617, and he's the only one that has done that. And look at the gap on second place. This is Heath Voss, your defending THQ World Supercross GP champ.
And running that very heavy number 1 plate is Heath Voss. And, you know, he still had a good performance last week of 5th place. He got tangled up with the lapper on the last lap, and that's what he said cost him the 4th place finish. Nick Way got by at that time. And right here is that section where Carmichael is going over, almost quadding that tabletop. The tabletop, you see Heath Voss not doing that. That right there is obviously costing him some time, and he's getting just a little swirly in the whoops there.
So Heath Voss currently sits in 2nd place. Meanwhile, another Yamaha rider has made a move up to the pack in Tim Ferry. The number 15 bike of Ferry has moved up, and Ferry now sits in 3rd place. Here you see the gap as Voss comes through our picture. And here's Tim Ferry.
Timmy just getting to the face of that triple. I talked to him last week. He's a little disappointed. He should have rode a bike that had a little bit more bottom end, but he thought it was going to be a clay surface. So he rode more of what's a controllable bike, less bottom end. This week, he put a different carburetor on. Says it's breathing fire on the bottom. He has looked so smooth in practice. Not having a great start cost him here in this heat, but he has been one of the riders. In fact, he was the 2nd fastest rider in the final practice.
Tim Ferry looking good. Remember last year of the Supercross season, hampered by serious injuries, especially to the wrist. So it's good to see Tim Ferry out here turning some hot laps, currently sitting in 3rd place, and that's a transfer position. We're going back to number 54, and this is Mr. Gibson. We saw Gibson in Toronto, Cameron, put on quite a show in his first race there.
He did. He won his heat race aboard that new ride, the Subway Coca-Cola DGY team. And what happened with him in the main event, he's sitting in the final transfer spot right now, so it looks like he's going to go to the main from his first seat again. In the main event, can you believe this, folks? A contact fell out of his left eye on the 2nd lap. Couldn't see, and relegated him far back in the race. He said it was basically impossible to see. Finished 18th, just ahead of Sebastian Portelli, who didn't finish the race.
So Jeff Gibson right now having his own problems. Fortunately, the contact is staying in as we are on the final lap as we go back to our leader. Number 4, Ricky Carmichael, just working that section, Cameron. And watch him blitz this area. Fully pinned, just flows through it. Now he's going to give the fans a little something as he comes down to the last half of the final lap.
One thing to watch for with the whoops for Ricky Carmichael, a lot of people have kind of dogged him a little bit in the past, saying that's where Chad Reed was faster. Well, Ricky Carmichael, here he comes into this whoop section. Let's take a look at him. he had been squatting his bike down so much that he was cutting that shock shaft. And what he's done now is he's running a more neutral position motorcycle is what he told me. Run a little bit higher, he has a little bit more travel, which makes it better in the whoop.
He busted out a 59 lap time, and your winner in 250 heat number 2, Mr. Carmichael, back in town. Well, a tremendous performance by him, Cameron, as Heath Voss comes through. He will pick up second place, but look at the distance between him and Ricky.
And that was Kyle Lewis, who we saw coming across the finish line. He was a lap down, so starting off great, having some problems. Tough race for Kyle Lewis.
Let's take a look at our Honda Heat 2 results from the 250 class. Your winner, Ricky Carmichael, followed by Heath Voss, Tim Ferry, and Jeff Gibson, all getting the transfer down to the main event. Let's check in with Jamie, who's with Ricky Carmichael.
Ricky Carmichael stepping it up here in heat race number 2. Fastest lap time of the weekend, 59 seconds. Ricky, I have to ask you about that one section. It's like a tabletop, step up, step down. I don't know what you want to call it, but looks like that's really going to set you guys apart tonight.
Yeah, it's a pretty big section, actually, and I was the first guy to do it in practice. And, you know, just trying to get ready for the season. You know, got a couple more guys coming up and need to do that kind of stuff. But I was able to nail it pretty good after the first couple laps, and I felt good.
All right, well, you look good. And we go from Suzuki Superstar to Suzuki All Access.
The fans turned out in droves. Suzuki All Access means all access. Get up close and personal with your favorite fans. Well, maybe not that guy. Ricky Carmichael turned out signing autographs till the pen went dry, Cameron.
It's cool because all the fans get a chance to interact. You know, you got Voss, you got Ferry, you got all the peeps hanging out. And that's what Supercross is all about, just being amped up. And then, you know what? You want some goods, some stuff to take home. I was at Supercross. We got that too, and you can buy it. We'll allow you anytime you want.
The good thing is they take Canadian or U.S. dollars. It all spends the same north of the border. I'll tell you what, though, have your cash in hand because when January 9th rolls around, you're not going to want to miss this. The THQ World Supercross GP and the THQ AMA Supercross Series, January 9th, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. Check your local listings. When we come back, we'll introduce you to quite possibly the fastest Canadian supercrosser going, Darcy Lange. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia for the THQ World Supercross GP. It's round number 2. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele. Heat 1 and 2 of the 250 class are in the books. Next up, it'll be 250 semi number 1. And in our next hour, you'll see semi 2, the LCQ, plus the main event. Jamie Little also on hand. She's got more on the track for that in this Honda Pit Report.
Well, you've heard us talking about the track tonight and how unique this is. Check this out. It's kind of sandy looking. The Dirtworks crew did not find it like this. They found it with rocks. Boulders this size tonight. They had to sift through it and turn it into what you're seeing as sand. Now what they're telling me is the top layer on the track is real sandy, but underneath it's hard packed. So that means one thing, inconsistency, and that means something else, really good racing. And that's your On the Pit Report.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Interesting information. Cameron, how do you think the track's going to hold up through all the races we're going to see tonight?
Definitely going to break down. Those rocks will be coming to the surface. It's going to get a little bit dangerous as well.
Dicey indeed. Well, one man who knows the surface, the terra firma up here in Canada, he could be Canada's fastest supercross racer. He's an arena cross champion. It's time to introduce you to Darcy Lange. In 2004, Darcy Lange became the first Canadian to win the National Arena Cross title. The soft-spoken rider from Courtenay, British Columbia, is still awed by his accomplishment.
You know, it's kind of weird. I've never really won any American titles or any like Canadian national titles either. So it was like my first major championship, and you know, it was kind of cool. You know, I came to the first round this year. Coming to the first round is you get a ring, and you know, it's real cool to be up there and be winning. It's definitely a great feeling.
Darcy has a lot of style and a distinctive flair that's all his own. It's a style he honed living in British Columbia, a part of the world he's very fond of.
It was definitely cool, you know, there's lots of lakes, mountains, and lots of places to ride, you know, even in the winter when it rains, there's lots of gravel pits you can go ride in, and, you know, all my buddies rode, my dad would always take me out, and my brother rode, like pretty much everyone in our family rode bikes, and, you know, the more I got into it, the more I got hooked up with Richmond Racing, and we came down to California one year, and I think every winter I've been coming down here and getting ready for arena cross or supercross or whatever we're doing, and yeah, it's cool. It's been fun.
He sees the chance to compete against the world's best as a special opportunity. He expects Western Canada's Supercross fans to enjoy watching the best riders in the world.
That'll be cool. You know, all my friends and family have already been calling me, asking me about tickets, if I'm racing, who's going to be there. And, you know, it's kind of cool for them because they've never got to see, like, Ricky Carmichael or Kevin Windham or any of those guys race live. And it'll definitely be awesome to be there and be pretty much in my hometown. And all my friends, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and everyone there cheering me on. It'll be a little different than from down here.
Darcy Land's definitely the man, the BC resident, on the line tonight as we take a look at the highlights from the 125 main event.
Well, it was definitely all green right out of the start, but it was Jeff Northrup who got the whole shot and took over the lead right away, followed by Darcy. But Darcy would have some missteps right away and continue on and eventually completely fumble and not even finish the main event in the top 10.
The man that was on the move, though, comes from the States, number 25 on board the KTM, Nathan Ramsey. Looks like he's found a home.
He has, and that's him passing Evan Lothridge right there, another arena cross star, and Nate Ramsey was definitely on the gas, as was Bobby Canary, who went down in an early accident, wasn't able to get his bike started, unfortunate for him, and this was the pass for the lead right here. Nate Ramsey going up inside of Northrup.
You got to know the folks at KTM are happy about that. Nathan Ramsey, what a great pickup for the 125. Ramsey would make that pass stick as he goes on to the final lap. It was the Nathan Ramsey show for the checkered flag. So Ramsey's the winner in the 125 class. Who will win in semi number 1? Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, the BC Place Stadium. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele. Before we go racing, it's now time for Jamie Little's Honda Pit Report. Jamie.
Thanks so much, Todd. There's a new face in the 250 class in his first 2 rounds of the THQ World Supercross GP, and that is Josh Hansen. He's running on the KTM, running a new number 100. Last weekend, he won his LCQ, and then in the main, he went from 15th all the way up to 8th and then crashed on the last lap. So keep your eyes on Mr. Hanny, number 100. Guys?
All right, thank you very much, Jim. We got a good look at him as we take a look at our starting lineups here in 250 Semi-1. It's Hansen, Jason Thomas joining him with Doug DeHaan, Sean Hamlin, Joe Aloff, Jimmy Wilson, Brian Mason, Greg Prater, and Zeb Armstrong. And Cameron, it's amazing we can say all those names on one page. It's a small semi, so you should be able to do pretty well. And we are off and racing in BC. This is 250 Semi number 1.
Oh, and a couple riders down.
And one of them was the guy that Jamie was just talking about. Hansen involved in that, but to the front of the pack goes number 33, and that's Jason Thomas.
And Jason, as we talked about, has been riding and training with Tim Ferry, gaining a lot of confidence. He's one of the shorter riders on the circuit at 5'6". He rides some riser pegs, cuts his seat down, cuts the subframe down a little bit so it fits better on the motorcycle. Right there, getting a very rutted triple over that deep section. He's able to get it. It's going to get tougher and tougher as the night goes on.
Well, this is 250 Semi-1. As you get a good look at number 33, Jason Thomas riding the Honda out of Florida for Subway Honda. Going 6 laps in the top 5, make it to the main event. So for Josh Hansen, he still has an opportunity, Cameron, to make it in there. He's got a lot of work. Where did it all go wrong?
Well, it looked like maybe Josh Hansen just got on the binders a little bit, got collected from behind, got taken down. You see the rider running out of that. So Josh bunched up with the rider, grabbed the binders. The rider behind him slid down underneath and took them both out. So a tough break for little Hanny, but I'm sure he'll work his way back up. If not, you know, hey, he won the last chance qualifier last week. Why not this week?
Number 33 is your leader. That is Jason Thomas on board the Honda. Subway Honda ride. He is out of Florida, and he continues to lead in semi number 1. Starting to get a little pressure from behind on 128, and that is Jimmy Wilson.
And Jimmy Wilson is just a guy that is just a good, fun character. Always has something nice to say about everybody and everything going on around him. He's from Michigan, and he works full time, so as the season progresses for him and he starts getting closer to training for Supercross, the bad news is it's getting towards winter. They're still on the ground, so he doesn't have a ton of places to train. So really most of Supercross time comes here at the tracks. But again, a great racer, very diligent in his work ethic, lots of training. Says he wakes up at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, goes to the gym, and then goes to work.
Jimmy Wilson getting the dark 30 workout in. Good for him. He continues to sit in second place. Your leader is number 33, Jason Thomas. There you see Wilson going through. He's having a great run here. I watched him some of the practice sessions, Cameron. He seems like one of the few guys who has figured out the consistency of the dirt here. Remember at the top of the show we talked about it. It's called glacial till. It was screen pulverized and coated to a highly polished and loose dirt surface.
Well, you saw right there, you talk about him feeling comfortable and has some miscues going through the tabletop section, up, and then he tags a little bit.
So 128 is Wilson. He continues to run in second place. Number 33 is Jason Thomas there on the left side of your screen. Thomas is in first, got the whole shot, and has stayed there, really hasn't been threatened. And number 28, Sean Hamlin, now comes into view. Here's the guy who made a jump behind him, number 90, Brian Mason.
I was talking to Sean Hamlin, and he said, you know what? I just haven't had tons of time to train. He's got his new Supercross track. He hasn't been able to ride on that track yet. It's just still curing. So Sean still working out the bugs with his bikes and his riding, and where he's riding had carburetor problems last week. Every time he seat mounts up, the bike would bog. How scary is that? And then he comes here, still not totally accustomed to motorcycle. You see him there in the far left of your screen, and now turning on the green bike, and he just hasn't dialed in the rush just yet.
Well, there you're looking at Brian Mason. He currently sits at number 4, but coming up quickly, number 100. Jamie pointed him out on the KTM. It's little Hanny, Josh Hansen, who went down in the front straightaway on the opening lap, and he is back in the running. Hansen currently sits in 5th place, and that, Cameron Steele, is a transfer position.
And that's good news for Josh Hansen,
Here
not having to go.
Almost got a pass on Mason. So it's Hansen on the right of your screen, and Mason on the left.
And you saw Hansen going to the inside there, still able to get the triple, but not with as good a run to the whoops, so Mason able to run up just a little bit on him.
Well, Josh Hansen, Jamie pointed out, he has made the jump up to the 250 class. He's also made a jump over to a new factory team with KTM. From a rider's perspective, Cameron, look at that move.
How is that
How do you think
inside?
Josh is going to react to the pressure? Because there's a lot expected of him.
There sure is. He's going to be riding the 125 East. Look at that. Brian Mason looks like he was unaware that Hansen was there. He turned in to make that turn, and boom, there was Hansen. And Josh is a guy that's a fun-loving character, but he works hard at what he does. Has a great trainer in Johnny Loud, and they have a good program going on. You see Hansen right there, jumping tabletop to tabletop and then stepping off. He's been very comfortable aboard the Red Bull. KTM also riding for Dragon and Troy Lee Designs, and things been going well for him. He's going to be shifting to the 125 East Coast, where he won a race last year at Indy.
We are talking, of course, about the number 100 bike right there, the orange KTM, and that is Josh Hansen, who went down to start, but he is recovering and did quite well. Let's recap really quickly the T-cell running order. It is Thomas, Wilson, Hamlin, and Mason. Hansen sits in the 5th place position, but he's gotten past Mason, so that change will take place when they come around the next time.
And you see the white flag out, Todd, and it's so far a really exciting night of racing with only better racing to come. And right now in the semifinals, Josh Hansen making that move, and he looks back. Do you see how he looks back in there?
Josh Hansen makes the pass on number 128, Jimmy Wilson, so Hansen moves up yet another position. Here's the guy who went down at the start and has worked his way all the way up to 3rd place, Cameron, so Hanny doing quite well.
And the quad, as we've been calling it, you know, he's skipping the jump there. Tabletop a single, land on top of the next tabletop, and watch him work the whoops. He's not really skimming him, he's more timing him through there.
So Josh Hansen with a meteoric rise from almost dead last all the way up to 3rd place. There's your leader, number 33. That is Jason Thomas, wire to wire on this 6-lap affair as he makes one more right and one more left, and the checkered flag will be his.
And no matter what you win in Supercross, whether it's the heat or the semi, it's a great feeling, and Jason he's going to be stoked with this. Good momentum going into the main event.
Good run for Sean Hamlin as well. He picks up 2nd, and race isn't even over yet. We've got riders pulling crazy Ivans on the last turn. It's the 55 bike of Joe Aloff, and his GPS was not set quite right, but he gets back on, goes underneath, and will be credited for completing the lap. A tremendous run by that man, Josh Hansen, as he goes from near last to a qualifying position, finishing in third here in 250, semi number 1. But the win goes to Jason Thomas, number 3. We'll talk to him when we come back to Vancouver. Stay with us. The THQ World Supercross GP has been brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. By Nissan, everything we touch, we shift, and everything we shift, we try to make better. And by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. Welcome back to round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP BC Place Stadium as we take a look at our results from the 250 semi number 1. They are brought to you by Thor. It is Jason Thomas with the win, Sean Hamlin, Josh Hansen, Jimmy Wilson, and Brian Mason. All moving on to the main event. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, JT, Jason Thomas makes his first appearance on the podium this year. And Jason, it's good to have you back up here. I don't know what they're doing to you guys at your team, but you and Jeff Gibson really stepping it up.
Yeah, our team's been, phenomenal this year, and just the bikes and all the camaraderie of the team and the practice, everything's paying off, and just glad we can be up here for our sponsors. They help us so much, and when we don't do well, it's really hard for us, to pay them back, so, it feels really good for them.
I've heard a rumor that you've been training with Tim Ferry. Heck of a guy to be training with, you both Floridians.
Yeah, I owe him a lot, he lets me ride with him all the time, and he's been showing me so much and keeping me focused and doing, what I need to do to succeed in this sport, and I owe a lot to him as well as all my sponsors, Subway, Coca-Cola, Answer, DGY, Michelin, Honda. Everybody, it's such a team effort for these privateer teams, and just pumped to be up here.
All right, guys, how about that Coca-Cola coming into the sport of Supercross and stepping it up with this team?
So that wraps up hour number 1 of the 250 show from Vancouver, British Columbia. Our next event comes to January 9th, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern, Anaheim, number 1. So 250 Heat 1 and 2 are in the books. 250 Semi 1 in the books. We got another hour still to go. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Stay with us for another hour. It's hour number 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Nick Way picked up a win in heat number 1. It was Ricky Carmichael in heat number 2. And Jason Thomas won semi number 1. Take off, more 250 racing from the Great White North next. And we welcome you back to British Columbia. We're at BC Place Stadium for round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP as we go north of the border, and we welcome you back for our second hour of 250 racing. Well, in the first hour, we saw some great action. We saw 250 Heat 1 and 2, plus 250 Semi 1, and to no surprise, Cameron, Ricky Carmichael looked awfully good.
He definitely did. The question mark here is, can anybody step it up to Ricky Carmichael's level? We saw Tim Ferry, we see Mike LaRocco. They looked a little bit rough in their heat races. Nick Way really shown, and I think some of the other riders are thinking that they have a chance to get up on the podium after seeing some of the performances. But again, Ricky Carmichael, picture perfect. He has been just blitzing the whoops and ruling every section. But let's not forget, this track is getting more torn up as these guys ride. Some sections are not getting worked on by the Dirtworks crew, and the ruts are getting very deep.
Well, in the second hour of 250 racing, you will see Semi 2, the LCQ, plus you'll also see the main event. Before we go racing, let's bring you up to speed as what has happened thus far.
Taking a look back at 250 heat number 1, Justin Buckaloo left the door open for Nick Way, who took it all the way to the checkered flag for the win.
Another dominant performance was in heat number 2 by that man, Ricky Carmichael, on board the Suzuki. He was untouchable on his way to a heat 2 win.
Throwing down the whip was RC, and JT, Jason Thomas, took home the win in semi number 1.
Right now, let's take it to Jamie Little with a special guest.
Well, it's always nice to see familiar faces in foreign lands, and Mr. Jeff Emig, former Supercross Outdoor National Champion, U.S. Open, and now, most recently, you were inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame. How huge was that for you?
It was pretty awesome. It was a real honor to be grouped with you know, the trailblazers of the motorcycle industry, not only just the racers and the motocross champions. So it was a pretty humbling experience also.
So what do you have going on besides being a dad, the newest addition in your life?
You know, that's it. My life's been pretty easy lately. I have a 10-month-old daughter, Presley, and my wife Jennifer and I have just been spending a lot of time at home with her, and so that's been a new challenge. But I've been on the bike riding here or there, and every time that I get out, get some riding in, I have so much fun. And I feel very fortunate still that I have the skill that I do on a motorcycle, because I mean, it's a blast. I love riding.
Real quick, I have to put you on the spot. Who's going to win the championship this year?
Ricky Carmichael.
There you have it. He's the Ricky Carmichael. He's the only guy pretty much missing from the lineup. We have McGrath and everybody else. And Mig, I think you better think about it.
Yeah, I just really respect Ricky and what he's accomplished, and I know him personally. He's a good friend of mine, and I mean, he's got a lot of drive and a lot of determination, and I'm going to go with number 4.
All right, there you have it from Jeff Emming.
Well, here's the format in the 250 class. 2 heats and 2 semis. 8 transfer out of the heats, 10 transfer out of the semis, and then we have the LCQ, which is the Mad Dash. Only 2 trans out as we get set for 250. Semi number 2 from British Columbia, and it looks like this. Your starting grid, Clark Stiles, Cole Siebler, Damon Huffman, Eric Vallejo, and we've already seen 2 great heats in the semis, plus 250 semi number 1, Cameron, which was won by Jason Thomas.
Yeah, incredible. And Damon Huffman in this heat, he's got to be one of the favorites. He says he likes riding the semis better than just transferring from the heat race, which is crazy because there's more risk not making the main. But he says he's warmer, feels more comfortable when he gets to the main event.
We'll settle in, folks. In this second hour, you will see 250 semi number 2, plus the main event and an LCQ. A lot of show as we get a look at Kyle Lewis on the starting line as they are off and running here at BC Place Stadium. And it is that man, number 23, Kyle Lewis, that goes to the front of the pack with Damon Huffman in second place. Kyle Lewis opened a lot of eyes last week in Toronto, Cameron, as he gave Ricky Carmichael a run early on.
And definitely one of the things about Kyle Lewis was he was riding a stock bike, and his mechanic, Alan Brown, had put together and worked on the motor, and he said, you know what, on a stock bike, I was competitive. He was super excited about that, and he's ready to really take it to these guys, and he was really bummed about the crash. And, you know, those things happen in motocross. He's still coming back from the injury, dropped quite a bit of weight, so he's definitely in fit shape. And Damon Huffman right behind him, he's the guy that was the top privateer on the World Supercross GP last year, winning a big old Weekend Warrior trailer and stuff in a Nissan, and he's just really amped on the whole series, and he's the guy that's been around for a long time, as has Kyle Lewis. 2 real veterans out there in front.
So this is 250 semi number 2. Glad you could join us for the second hour of 250 racing from British Columbia, round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Your leader right now out in front, that is Kyle Lewis. Damon Huffman sits in second, and James Pavoni Jr. sits in third. And looks like Damon Huffman's getting a little froggy. He's ready to jump. Right now, let's check in quickly with Jamie. Jamie, what do you got?
Yeah, I like that analysis, Todd. That was pretty good. If you guys remember, though, Damon Huffman last year was the guy. He was going for this World Supercross title along with Heath Moss. He wants it bad this year, and he can taste it. He's back with a new team, Team ECC. And if you remember back to last year's second round, and he makes the pass into the lead, guys.
Well, Cameron, he wasted no time. He was designing that pass from way back when.
Well, what cost Damon Huffman last year was an incident where he hurt his ankle, actually broke it. He rode with it like that, had to ride through a round, very tough right now, riding for the team ECC.com aboard that Honda, and he has been looking great on that bike, and he's looking very comfortable. His team manager, Jungle Jim, who had been racing Supercross for a long time and been around racing, is really stoked with the way Damon is putting down his laps.
Well, let's look at this one more time as Damon Huffman now inherits the lead from Kyle Lewis, and Lewis continues to struggle. Where did it go wrong for Kyle Lewis here?
Well, I think just purely Damon Huffman committed to the whoops. You see Kyle a little bit farther forward maybe, and Damon just really working that bike back on the pegs, and just a great run through the whoops.
So Damon Huffman, number 20, is your leader, a man who spent some time up in Canada, all too familiar with the Canadian terra firma. When we come back, much more of the 250 Semi-2 from BC Place Stadium right after this. The THQ World Supercross GP is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. By MX vs. ATV Unleashed, coming February 2005 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And by Nissan. Everything we touch, we shift. And everything we shift, we try to make better. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia. We're in Canada for the THQ World Supercross GP. This is round number 2. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele and, of course, Jamie Little. Damon Huffman is your leader. Didn't get the whole shot. Made a beautiful pass just moments ago on Kyle Lewis. But Damon Huffman out in front. Jamie, what do you got?
Well, Todd, I was trying to make a point when he made that pass. I got so excited I didn't finish my point. If you remember back to the second round in Arnhem, Holland last year, Damon Huffman finished second. So he got that taste in his mouth, and he wants a win here bad. And it can happen here tonight. But the good news is he's back with a solid team. We'll see him in the 250 class all year next year in 2005.
All right, thank you, Jamie. There's his average lap time for Damon Huffman has been very quick. But as he looks towards the final, he knows Ricky Carmichael is going to be there, Cameron. We saw Ricky turn a 59, the only guy we've seen turn a 59 on this long track tonight.
Oh, Damon Huffman is no stranger to racing, as we talked about in his 14th pro season. He knows that Ricky Carmichael brings his A game to the races. And I want to point out, last week, Damon Huffman was very disappointed in the suspension setup that he chose. It was far too soft. He said when he got in the ruts in the soft dirt there, the bike wallowed all over the place. It was hard to keep it going straight. This week, he stiffened it up considerably because he really likes the bike. And right now, it's really showing that in this race.
So Damon Huffman sits in front, 250 semi number 2. It's a 6-lap affair, and we're coming up on the white flag, and we'll give you an idea of the gap he's got over Kyle Lewis right there. Just roughly about 4 seconds. Kyle Lewis does not look like he's gaining too much on him. They're staying pat, and for good reason, because the top 5 will transfer the main event. Kyle Lewis would love to get that victory, but I think he's happy just to get in the main event and avoid an LCQ at this point. Kyle Lewis, what do you think the difference has been between Kyle Lewis this year and Kyle Lewis last year?
Well, last year he was fighting back from injury. You know, he never got back to the races and was comfortable. And right now, taking a look at Cole Siebler, a young gun coming up. And, you know, Kyle is just now finally back to health, feeling confident on the motorcycle. I think a lot of things are going to happen great for Kyle this year.
This is number 57 coming into view. 52, excuse me. This is Keith Johnson as he slides through. And we missed James Pavoni came through just moments ago as well.
And Keith Johnson flew under the radar with us a little bit last week. He wasn't in the top 5, but he was right there. A 7th place finish, a very strong finish for Keith Johnson.
So it's Huffman, Lewis, and Siebler the top 3. Then Johnson and Pavoni. Those are the last ones right now that are currently running in the transfer position. The top 5 moving on to the main event. This is 250 Semi-2 from Vancouver, British Columbia. Round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Damon Huffman looks extremely strong as he is on the white flag lap.
Saw a little one-hand motion there, taking it kind of relaxed, one hand off the back, just maybe showing the fans that he's chilling and having a good time as he's getting closer here to the finish line.
Well, as gap gets larger over Kyle Lewis, no need to worry because he is taking the checkered flag in the win. Your winner, 250 Semi-2. No hand for Damon Huffman.
So Damon Huffman with the win, and looks like Kyle Lewis is going to come through behind him. Checkers for Kyle. The story here, Cole Siebler in his first 250cc race in North America makes the main event. Last year as a 125 prospect with the Samsung Radio Shack team. Had an injury, wasn't able to compete, lost his ride, and now he's got to prove himself. He'll be riding the 125s when we get stateside, but wanted to come up and ride the 250s up here.
As they space out, it is Damon Huffman who takes the victory. He's the man in 250 Semi number 2. So the results of 250 Semi-2 look like this. Damon Huffman gets the victory, followed by Kyle Lewis, Cole Siebler, Isaiah Johnson, and Keith Johnson. They'll all be moving on to the main event. Right now, let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Damon Huffman is definitely no stranger to the Canadian fans. It's got to feel good to be back up here. I know you have a lot of fans here, but to know that you're going back to the States and you're going to race this entire series.
Yeah, I'm with a new team. It's teametc.com Honda, and we're still getting things figured out, but so far the bike's awesome. I'm feeling good and looking forward to a great year with them. And also it feels great to win the semi, and that's a little more motivation for the main event. But Hondas and Dunlop tires, AXO, everyone who helped us out, He's doing a great job.
All right, it's good to see Damon Huffman taking home semi number 2 win when we come back. The 250 LCQ.
Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia, BC Place Stadium, the THQ World Supercross GP, and we've got some great stuff coming. The future of the sport is very well taken care of by this man, Todd Gendro.
We definitely believe taking Supercross global is definitely good for the sport of Supercross. Bringing it to markets in other countries that Supercross has never been to is good for the sport. Bringing it into other televisions in other countries is good for the sport. It's good for our sponsors. It's good for riders. It's good for the manufacturers who sell motorcycles. It's pretty much good for everybody, and it just makes good business sense. You know, the series within the series concept is definitely the advantage of not only the factory rider who could earn points fund money, but also the privateer as well, primarily because it opens the door for additional sponsorship opportunities in other countries. It opens the door for additional bonus award funds. The points fund of $250,000 is up for grabs as well. There's $100,000 for the privateers to make the main programs. There's the whole shot money. So this is a wonderful opportunity for the privateer, definitely.
So the future of the THQ World Supercross GP in good hands with Todd Gendro of Clear Channel. Right now, before we move on, it's time for the MX versus ATV Unleashed track facts. And once again, it's my favorite turn up here, Glacial Till.
Todd, come on, buddy. 450 truckloads, 9,000 tons, 6,000 plus cubic yards of dirt, and hard dirt to work with. Feel a little bit sorry for the Dirtworks guys picking out tons of boulders all weekend long.
They got 10 turns, 2 triples, 5 tabletops. Track runs about 1.5 miles, so we're right around the 1 minute mark, a little under if you're Ricky Carmichael.
Well, we're going to make them work for it here this weekend.
Well, it's now time for the THQ World Supercross GP 250cc LCQ, Cameron. This is where it comes down to just 2 guys making the main event. Will it be Greg Crater, Zeb Armstrong, Doug DeHaan, Joe Aloff, Eric Vallejo, Josh Baggy, James Pavoni Jr., Clark Stiles, and Brian White? Only 2 can move on. It's a pretty small field, but it's going to be a mad dash because no one wants to sit in the stands and watch the main event go down here in Vancouver.
Well, Eric Vallejo has been a consistent performer as of late, hailing out of Monterrey, Mexico. I look for him to be a standout here on the number 57.
Joe Aloff has a great line on the inside, but can he hold it? No, he can't. It's 46. Clark Stiles out in front.
Known as the Alabama Slammer, hailing from the south part of the United States, Alabama, and he has been a rider that just hasn't been consistent. Great starts, he looks good, and then all of a sudden, yard sale. Things go wrong, Todd. He starts throwing it away, and as we speak, the feet coming off this is that very rutted out section when you have to pick where you can go in those areas. You can see the track's been groomed in some areas, but there it's just very ruddy.
So right now it is the man out front we were just talking about, Cameron's friend, the Alabama Slammer, Clark Stiles, who has the lead, and behind him it was number 57 and number 55 who were battling for second place. They had their problems, and Eric Vallejo and Joe Aloff.
And you saw Aloff lose his position in the semi. I believe he was checked by Brian Mason in the last corner for the transfer position. And so here you see Aloff following Eric Vallejo. And Eric Vallejo, he only got 1 week of testing on his motorcycle before they went to Toronto. So that's a little bit of a tough position to be in, but Eric fighting through it, and always the trooper, one of the greatest riders, I mean, ever from Mexico, and a great rider in this Supercross series, riding for Star Racing, Bobby J's Yamaha.
Well, it's really a 4-man race right now because in the LCQ it's 6 laps. As we pointed out, just 2 can advance to the main for everyone else. Thanks for coming to Vancouver. Don't forget to pay your exit tax. But right now it is Stiles, Vallejo, Aloff, and Pavoni really the ones in contention because they are starting to distance themselves from the rest of the field. If you look at number 57, that's Eric Vallejo, who Cameron was talking about, currently sitting in second place. But on his right side is number 55, and that man goes down. Joe Aloff gets tangled up with the blocks, and he goes down, so his night is pretty much going to be over. And just to the left of Joe Aloff, another rider is down. So Stiles and Vallejo pretty much out in front. They've got this thing all but locked up if they can keep the rubber side down.
Well, the one thing to point out, too, is you see all the riders clearing there. You see Aloff on the Subway Coca-Cola DGY ride, a tough break for him. But don't forget, Clark Stiles isn't afraid to crash once in a while. Sorry, Clark, I had to say it. You've been having a tough go, but right now riding well, and he's got the pressure from Eric Vallejo behind him, but both should be smart enough to know that they're way out front. Let's take it easy. Let's not tangle. Let's not get together. Let's get to the main event.
Well, let's watch and see exactly what happened. There's Vallejo, number 57. Watch the left side of your screen.
Well, it all started going bad early in the whoops for Joe. You saw the front end dive. His body came forward and just blew his timing off. Then he finally catches one and goes down. It's so tough to bring your bike back together. You see Clark Stiles get a little squirrely, and then Vallejo also getting squirrely. A little bit scary in that whoop section. Well, remember, the dirt's breaking down, Todd.
Yeah, they just came by Mechanics Row, and I'm thinking, to Clark Stiles, he just has a massive get-off. Clark Stiles sends his bike on a ghost ride.
What's he throwing his arms for? Get on the bike.
He's had a history of doing this, and if he can get this thing kicked over, get that big old four-stroke running again, he does. He'll give up one position, but he's still in the running. He's going to lose two more.
What is he doing? He has...
Cameron, just going to say, he went by the Mechanics Row, and they should have been holding up a sign, just take it easy, bring it home.
Wow, that's terrible foreshadowing on our part, talking about him throwing it away at times. And it looks like he might be injured. Remember, last year, he had an injury to the forearm, his elbow, and shoulder. He's holding it down. A very tough break for Clark Stiles on that MXPrivateer.net ride. And,
well, here it is. One more time. Take us through it.
Looks like he just hooked up. Remember, whoa! Throwing away the laundry there, and just... It looks like he just got a handful of throttle and got traction. Remember, they just groomed the track, and it's very tacky right there. Maybe he's used to it being slippery. Just tosses the bike away, and it's a tough break for Clark Stiles.
And you can see as Jamie Little's down there, Doc Bodner attending to him. It could have been a lot worse had he been in traffic, but it looks like he's going to be okay. But a terrible get-off for Clark Stiles, who was running in first place.
Well, right now, what that means is it's a battle for second place.
So Eric Vallejo is your leader right now. We got to go way back in the pack to find the next rider, because Vallejo and Stiles were running away with this thing. Now, Eric Vallejo, just take it easy, young man, and bring this thing home. Meanwhile, the battle for second place rages on, and that's between 163 and 53. 153 and 53. So James Pavoni, who we thought was out of it, he is back in it, and oh, you got to be kidding me. And Crater just went down. 153 just dumped it. So Pavoni, who went down, is back in it.
And so, unbelievable turn of events. It just, he got tagged right there and went down and lost position.
So Carter has to ride up knowing his night's done. Let's check in quickly with Jamie Little.
Well, guys, I just got word with Clark Stiles, and apparently he already had an injured right knee, and he said, I said, what in the world did you do? He said, you know, I just came into the finish line, my hand slipped off, I went down, re-injured my knee, so I couldn't get it going again, but he had a smile on his face. He goes, that's just my luck. So hopefully we'll get to see him back again, but Cameron, you called it.
Unbelievable turn of events here in the LCQ as we take it to the final lap. Correction is Carter, not Crater, it's Carter, who has now moved back. He has pulled off the track. Eric Vallejo is the man who leads this crazy LCQ in Vancouver, British Columbia. Cameron, I'm going to take you to Vegas and have you buy me a lottery ticket, because that was unbelievable.
Well, I feel kind of bad. I mean, we're just calling it like we know it has happened or could happen, and Clark throws down. I mean, just unfortunate. It's just, we got to say what's going to happen, and just really tough luck. And Clark had a chance to really make a shine there and get to the main event, but good riding by Clark Stiles, just one of those things that happens.
Well, Eric Vallejo's out in front, not even being tested. He will make one more right and then a left, and he will see a checkered flag. And I think when he gets back to his pit, his mechanic's going to say, you know what happened around you? You're winner in the LCQ. Eric Vallejo will have to wait a while for the next rider to come through, and it looks like it's going to be James Pavoni Jr. But Joe Alof's going to push him every inch of the way. He'll come up just short, and there it is.
So last week, Pavoni gets the Racer X gas card for missing the main, and this week, it's going to be Joe Alof. And after his crash, if he could have got going just a little bit faster, I mean, he was right there on Pavoni at the end, so you never know what's going to happen in motorcycle racing. I mean, there are two wheels. They fall over, right?
Strange turn of events here. So the battle of attrition, otherwise known as the LCQ here in Vancouver, goes down like this in our Thor official results. It's Eric Vallejo picking up the win. James Pavoni gets second, and Joe Alof has to settle for the Racer X gas card. unbelievable. And Greg Prater, number 153, unfortunately did not make the show. Let's send it down to Jamie Little.
See, Tom, look at this. We have extended coverage of the 250 class, and you get to meet the LCQ winner, Eric Vallejo. Eric, take us through that race. What did you see from your perspective with Clark Styles?
Man, I saw a little bit of everything, you know. Once I knew I was in second, I was just trying to catch him, maybe pass him, and I don't know, he got a little crazy right out the corner, and you know, after that, I saw a lot of people fell in the wheel, so I was by myself, so I was pretty happy about that.
You kept it on 2 wheels. We'll see you in the main.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to thank Star Racing, Fly, Bobby J, NCY Yamaha, and my whole team, my mechanic left. Thanks.
All right, Eric Vallejo, representing for Mexico, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. Some great racing still in store in the 250 main. Before we get to that, it's now time for Suzuki's All Access. Nearly 30,000 people turned out to BC Place Stadium, and a good portion of them came out for the autograph session. Whether it was Tim Ferry or Heath Voss or the man himself, Ricky Carmichael, they waited in long lines to meet their heroes. Fans of all ages came out to see Ricky Carmichael's debut in the Great White North. When we come back, it's the main event of the THQ World Supercross GP Round 2 from Vancouver, Canada. Stay with us. And we welcome you back to Vancouver, British Columbia for the THQ World Supercross GP. The city on the ocean. It is a beautiful night in Vancouver as we bring you inside BC Place Stadium. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele and Jamie Little. And I'll tell you what, it has been a fantastic night thus far. Glad we came north of the border. But look out, the THQ World Supercross GP and the THQ AMA Supercross Series debuts January 9th, 2005, 12 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. on the East Coast. It'll be Anaheim 1. You won't want to miss it. Right now, let's check in with Jamie Little for this Honda Pit Report.
Well, Todd, every week we see Ricky Carmichael's undying commitment to this sport. But the truth is, he couldn't be here if it weren't for the love and support of his parents. Get this, his parents sitting right here, Jeannie and Big Rick Carmichael, have never missed one of his 250 wins. So as they sit here eagerly awaiting the 250 main, they're hoping to witness number 110 for their son, Ricky Carmichael.
All right, we'll see if Ricky Carmichael can deliver that victory for his parents as we get set for the 250 main event. There's Ricky Carmichael, his familiar mechanic, Mike Gosler right behind him. Cameron's still hard to get over seeing them in yellow, but that's the case. There's number 5, Mike LaRocco. The Rock's letting out a big breath there right there as he gets ready. And number 27, Nick Way, also a winner in one of our earlier races. We take a look at our Suzuki starting grid. It's Ricky Carmichael, Nick Way, Heath Voss, Tyler Evans, Tim Ferry, Justin Buckaloo, Jeff Gibson, Mike LaRocco, Damon Huffman's in there, as is Kyle Lewis, Sean Hamlin, and Josh Hansen. Well, Cameron, look into your crystal ball. You had it right earlier. What do you think?
I'm going to pick one of those big Honda 450s into the first corner. Maybe Kyle Lewis.
250 main event for Vancouver. Look at this. Cameron Steele is on the money. It's number 23, Kyle Lewis, who picks up the whole shot. Ricky Carmichael currently sits in 3rd place, and it's 33, Jason Thomas in 2nd. So it's Lewis, Thomas, and Carmichael, your top 3. Heath Voss now sits in 4th, and Damon Huffman in 5th. But for Kyle Lewis, unbelievable start for him, Cameron, rocking it out.
Well, he's been talking about his fitness, and now it's time for it to shine. He had a good start last week. Here comes Carmichael. We'll see if Lewis can hold off this charge. You see Carmichael duck there from the ruse.
Carmichael gets a face of Roos right there. He'll go to an opening tear-off as soon as he gets the opportunity, but it is still Lewis out in front. And here's Carmichael, makes the move. Ricky Carmichael slides ahead of Jason Thomas. Now he's in 2nd. And this is all too familiar. Think back to Toronto.
Can the time be numbered here for Kyle Lewis right in the Moto Triple X Honda for Dunlop, Utopia Tag, and VP Fuels, and he's leading right now, but Ricky Carmichael knows where to make it work. Kyle Lewis is not doing this quad. Will Ricky do it behind him? Whoop! so much commitment. Oh, my. But plays it real nice. Ricky could have come up onto Kyle Lewis, and even Kyle Lewis looks like he jumped down a little bit into Ricky, but he makes it happen. It's not a question of if, but a matter of when, and Carmichael makes the pass right there, takes a lower trajectory on that triple, stays low, hooks up quicker, and now it is Carmichael to the lead. Lewis slides into second, and Thomas still sits in third. So Carmichael just, now the question is anybody going to be able to get in there with him? And taking a look here, watch Carmichael the inside. Tim Ferry, boom, just getting very squirrely. I'm not sure from that angle if he tried to jump onto that tabletop, but he popped off, threw the bike away, and Tim Ferry is a lap down at the very least. Not sure if he's going to pull off or keep riding at this point. Well, Ricky Carmichael continues to lead as Tim Ferry has pulled off the track. We'll keep an eye on that. Have Jamie Little get us a report as soon as she can. There's Ricky Carmichael's lap time, Cam, where he talked about it. He is hovering right around 1 minute, and he will probably dip underneath that very shortly. And he's not just showing off there. That's his way of scrubbing speed, getting the bike going sideways off the face. So Ricky Carmichael looking very solid right now. Remember, he was doing 25 laps in practice at home with his trainer, Alden Baker, just in case they got some longer lap times. They've got him here this week, but Ricky Carmichael looking picture perfect. Well, he will be the first man ever to win back-to-back World Supercross GP events. It hasn't happened before. We always have a different winner when we've gone abroad. But Carmichael comes up to Canada, and if he can keep this position, Ricky Carmichael looked very good. Let's go back and look at it where he made the pass here on Kyle Lewis. Well, you can see Ricky charging to the whoops, looking very smooth, but keeping it together, not getting too close to Kyle, scrubbing more speed than Kyle. We talk about scrubbing air time, staying down lower. Ricky Carmichael does just that. You saw how much higher Kyle Lewis was. Faster, the quicker you're back on the ground. Well, Jamie Little had the opportunity to talk to Jeff Emick earlier, and he thought Ricky Carmichael would win the title this year. I think it's one of those things where it's hard to bet against him. Well, they've been talking about his weakness has been the whoops. We've been watching him all week, last week and this week with his whoops. He's been very confident. I asked him about it. He said, I'm ready for the whoops. Very confident. Well, Ricky Carmichael comfortably out in front as we slide back. We'll take a look for the battle for second place. It's shaping up to be very nice right now between Jason Thomas, number 33, and the number 1 bike of Heath Voss, who just so happens to be the defending THQ World Supercross GP champion. Well, we talked about Heath Voss taking a couple soil samples in practice. It hasn't affected him during the night, and honestly, these guys have been racing about the same amount of time as professionals. Heath has been very fortunate, done a very good job, moved up and taken the championship. Jason Thomas is looking for a really big finish. His best finish, as we said earlier, has been in 8th place. And right now, he's shutting the door. You see how he came in tight on that corner. He's trying to make it hard for Heath Voss to get by. There you see the interval between Thomas and Voss, and watch out for number 27. That's Nick Wade just dipping into your picture. So you are looking at the battle for second and third, and now 4th with Nick Wade coming into view. Nick Wade's had a great run up here in Vancouver, and there's Damon Huffman now in 5th. So Jason Thomas leads the quad as they come through. Ricky Carmichael is your leader. Thomas is in 2nd, Voss in 3rd, and Nick Wade. Come back and find out how it all shakes down in Canada. Welcome back to Canada. It's round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP from BC Place Stadium in downtown Vancouver. Before we get back to racing, it's time for this week's Nissan Rider Profile, and with that, here's Jamie Little.
Daniel Corbett is like most KTM Junior Supercross riders. His dad, Jim, is his mechanic, but he tunes his son's bike while battling some special challenges.
I lost my eyesight 11.5 years ago to type 1 diabetes and a scuba diving accident. I was down too deep, came up too fast, and too far away from the decompression chamber.
Jim learned motorcycles from his dad, and now he is passing that knowledge of riding and tuning onto his son.
I have to take things slow. I have to have my tools well laid out, and I have to have the bike very clean. Because I touch everything, and I listen to everything, and I smell everything.
A life lifelong rider and racer, Jim thought his days around the sport were over. But through his family, he finds himself back in motorcycling and loving every moment.
It's quite an experience. Until my wife and son came into my life, I didn't think I'd ever get back into motocross. Now I'm into a full bore, enjoying every moment of it.
Welcome back to BC Place Stadium, Vancouver, British Columbia. This is round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele and Jamie Little. Tonight's attendance, 26,895 as we look at the battle for second place. Number 33 is Jason Thomas. Number 27 is Nick Way.
And you look there, you see Nick Way staying low off that double off the finish line and then really working that corner, man. Big fan spray of dirt coming up. He was on the gas early, really beat Jason Thomas out of that. Jason's falling back just a little bit right away.
Nick Way has found a good home on that Honda. It looks fantastic. Great pass, so Nick Way moves into second. Jason Thomas now sits in third, and Ricky Carmichael continues to lead.
And you see him right there doing that camel talk to camel talk, and something we've seen Ricky Carmichael doing just continually, and Ricky's just working it. It's just amazing how much gap he can put on the guys so quickly.
Carmichael collecting a second every lap. And here we see our differential. Carmichael goes through. We start the clock. We'll wait till the second place rider comes through, which should be Nick Way. I'm guessing it's going to be close to 15 seconds, Cameron.
Yeah, Nick coming into your screen, and then here comes the onslaught of riders. A great battle going down right now. You take a look, Mike LaRocco coming into the fray. See if he can make the move up. Remember, second place last week.
Heath Voss, number 1 on board the Yamaha, currently sits in 4th. There's Damon Huffman, number 20. He's in 5th, and then Mike LaRocco.
And you saw Huffman give Heath Voss a little bit of a tire there in that corner, so Damon looking like he may want to get up there and get into the podium fray. You know, we had him on the podium last year in the second round of the World Supercross GP, THQ World Supercross GP, that is. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there again. He's been riding very fluid.
Well, Jason Thomas was in second. He's now in third, and he's in danger of giving that up. And Heath Voss could have parked him.
Yeah, you know, Heath Voss could have definitely taken the line, and it wouldn't have been a real dangerous situation. Jason Thomas just would have had to cut the throttle and not do the triple. And maybe ask why Heath Voss maybe patty kicked that a little bit when he might have had to move from position and would have been able to move himself forward. Instead, he doesn't get the triple either. He has to double, so only he suffers from that. When, you know, maybe Huffman might not have been able to do the triple behind him as well if both those riders are blocking, only doing 2.
And while he was unable to do the double there, number 20, Damon Huffman moved up yet another position. So Damon Huffman, 1 position away from being on the podium. Just ahead of him is number 33, Jason Thomas, up to number 20. They'll try the inside line there. Heath Voss coming into view.
And you saw Damon tracking really well out of that corner. It just looks like he's really got his setup, his suspension of problems. Ricky Carmichael setting up yet a problem, and
moments ago gets cross-threaded. Look at this. Oh, look at this save.
We talk about the ruts. We talk about the lines being tricky. Carmichael flying off the left. You saw his right foot come off, trying to weight it back to the right side. The tough blocks didn't really hurt him. If those had been hay bales like they used to be, it would have been lights out nighty-night, Ricky Carmichael.
So Carmichael's still working off a little rust, but he's got that Suzuki way out in front. His time has gone up now up to 17 seconds Carmichael has. As you see him at the bottom of your screen just going by. We go back now to number 20, and that's Damon Huffman.
Damon Huffman has been rocking. Heath Voss, look at these lap times. 102. This is a long, long race, and conditioning definitely going to be a factor here. And guys like Huffman and Voss are in good condition. Nick Way, Ricky Carmichael, they're really shining right now.
Well, Damon Huffman now has moved up with 4 spots in 2 laps, so he sits in third. Heath Voss trying to track him down and put that number 1 Yamaha on the podium. He is the reigning World Supercross GP champion from last year. And here's Mike LaRocco, so this makes the plot thicken even more. Does Mike LaRocco have anything currently running in 5th place?
Well, we know Heath Voss has really been working on it. He's got a ranch just outside San Antonio. He's got 4 Supercross tracks. Never wants to get bored riding the same track, so he's working. He runs the equipment himself. drives loaders there, and, you know, builds all kinds of creative stuff. He said he's really been working at it, and Mike LaRocco, who was second last week, you'd expect him, I mean, The Rock won Indy last year. You'd expect him to be right up there in the mix and really getting up on the top of that podium, and right now it looks like it just hasn't been working out for him.
Tyler Evans goes through. There's Kyle Lewis. Remember, he got our whole shot as Cameron Steele predicted correctly.
Well, thank you, Todd. I just rubbed the crystal ball a little bit. Oof, I got the answer. And Vallejo in the mix as well.
Vallejo currently sits in 9th place. Lewis just ahead of him. Well, Cameron, you're so smart in picking the whole shot. What's going on with Kyle Lewis? Why is he sliding back?
You know, I'm not really sure. That hole in front of that triple is really gnarly looking, though. And Josh Hansen coming in the screen. Look at how those whoops have just gotten torn up. Just different weird lines. And, you know, I'm not really sure what's going on with Kyle Lewis. I know he took his nickname off the back of his pants, lucky, because he's having so much trouble with crashing. And I think he might just... I'm not sure if it's just something in the way these tracks are set up differently than where he trains. And maybe just having problems with the rocks and everything, you know, just the compounds. And, you know, Josh Hansen, who we saw crash last week in the main event, you know, he's coming back up through the pack like he did last week, but he may be running out of time to get up into that top 5.
Josh Hansen on board the KTM, the number 100. There's Mike LaRocco currently sitting in 5th place, trying to move up yet another position. Heath Voss just in front of him on the number 1 Yamaha. When we come back, more of the 250 main event from Vancouver, BC. Welcome back to Vancouver, BC. We're at BC Place Stadium, north of the border for round 2 of the THQ World Supercross GP. Well, Ricky Carmichael, it's so good to have him on the World Supercross GP circuit, and he had some thoughts about the rich history of this tour.
I'm glad that I'm here competing. It's a great experience for me, and, you know, being in another country, it's nice. I hope everybody's here next year, and I think they will. I think, you know, with me doing it, and if I say I'm going to do it again next year, which I'm going to, and I'm excited about it, I think some more people will come. You know, Clear Channel does a great job promoting it, and they've taken the sport to a level that I'm very thankful of. I think we're all benefiting from it, and it's a great thing. I mean, 7 years ago when I first started riding, or 8 now, first started racing professional, it's come a long ways. I mean, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, Ricky enjoys the circuit, and Cameron, I know there's about 30,000 fans here that enjoy Ricky being on the circuit, especially the World Supercross GP. It's just great to have him on board, and he wants to pick up another title.
Definitely, and the people at Makita and Suzuki get behind him, bringing him out, and, you know, unfortunately, Sebastian Tortelli, his teammate, was with him last week. A little crash, not hurt badly. He'll be back in Anaheim, but right now, Ricky carrying the colors for the team, and it has been awesome to watch him ride. He is just, I mean, he hasn't been flawless. We saw him land on the tough blocks, but he has been fast everywhere.
Well, when he has made a mistake, he's got the talent to correct it so quickly, and Carmichael has just been unbelievable. He does things on that bike that are just hard to believe. So you factor in the other talent that we will see when we get to Anaheim, and oh my, definitely worth the price of admission. Carmichael is your leader at the 250 main event here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And then it's Nick Way in second, Damon Huffman in third, Mike LaRocco is in fourth, and Heath Voss rounds out your top 5. You don't see your rider on the screen. Take a look at the Tissot running order at the top of the screen as we go through and pick out your favorite rider. But Carmichael continues to look good. No transition time for him on this bike. You talked about it, Cameron. He has made some mistakes, but he's good enough to correct them so fast.
Well, talking to Ricky, he says it was so easy to get used to the bike. He really likes the frame, feels very comfortable with the bike. He's got it set up so he can really attack the whoops. Says he's very confident in the whoops. And he just, when you talk to him about everything, he seems ready to go for the championship. And as of right now, I mean, looking at this World Supercross GP in the palm of his hand, as long as nothing happens to him through the season, I mean, he's just been great.
So Carmichael comfortably out in front with more of a 15-second lead, and just we say that, Cameron, he almost throws it away.
Well, the one one thing is, he's really doing that section he doesn't need to do. It's very risky, and I think maybe he's just trying to prove to himself, putting words on, I'm just saying what we're thinking here, but he doesn't have to do that. He could back it off and do what most of the other guys are doing, but he elects to keep just going for it every single lap, possibly just testing himself, getting himself ready to really attack every single lap, which he's doing now.
I'll tell you what, Big Rick and Genie's heart must just skip a beat as Carmichael's lead has gone up to 25 seconds. It was 13, then it was 17. It's now 25. So even with a slight bobble, Ricky continues to maintain a dominating lead. Nearly a half a lap lead on the rest of the field. Carmichael, your leader, Nick Way in second, Damon Huffman currently holding down in third. Well, we've had some great moments. This was one of them for Mike LaRocco getting the pass on Heath Voss.
You see Heath looking over, and it looks like LaRocco just going to pull up to the outside in, and wow, on the gas so early there in that corner. Big fan right there of dirt.
And here's the spot where Ricky almost gave it away.
And Ricky just, again, doing the session, landing on top, skipping off, just getting a little bit sideways, but holding it together. Little foot off the tough block there. No problem, I'm just going to go ahead and whip it into the whoops, and that's the 90 there. Brian Mason having some problems as Ricky goes by.
From that angle, it didn't look as bad, but Carmichael at such a high rate of speed, he leaves little room for error as Ricky comes around once again as he gets set to see the white flag. It's the final lap for Ricky Carmichael here, the 250 main, the THQ World Supercross GP round number 2. We remind you, he picked up the victory, the overall victory in Toronto, round number 1 to kick the season off. And here he is looking like he will walk away with yet another win. So it has been Carmichael. Welcome back to the circuit. I know as fans and as announcers, we'd love to see him there, but the competitors have got to be thinking, oh, great, Ricky's back.
And again, last lap, just showing, hey, I'm doing it. He jumps tabletop, steps off, as good as it can be done. Oh, the no-footed can.
Thank you, British Columbia. So he gave that one out to the fans on the back of his pants. It says RC, and then it says BC. Giving out a little British Columbia love.
Check it out on the other side, the one-handed whip. Carmichael is in the house and in command, looking awesome.
Best lap, he did dip below a minute, 59.575. Enough said. Your winner of the 250 main from Florida on board a Suzuki number 4, Ricky Carmichael. The battle will rage on, though. The battle for second, the battle for a podium position, and this man has been so impressive. We knew Ricky would be in the show, but Nick Way has answered a lot of questions for me, and Nick Way right now sits in second. All he has is 2 more turns, and second place is his.
You see him ducking down there. Damon Huffman right behind him, but Nick Way, MDK, MSR Motorsports team, he's going home with the podium. He's amped.
Look at that. And Damon Huffman on board a new team with ECC Honda, bringing it home. Great to have him back on the circuit. Always does well on the THQ World Supercross GP. But the night belongs to that man, Ricky Carmichael. We come back, we will talk to RC and find out just exactly how he did it when we return to Vancouver, BC, Canada. The THQ World Supercross GP has been brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. By Nissan, everything we touch, we shift, and everything we shift, we try to make better. And by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. We are back to BC Place Stadium, Vancouver, BC, Canada, THQ World Supercross GP, round number 2. And Ricky Carmichael once again reigns supreme in the 250 class. Running away with it as we take a look at our Honda official results. It is Carmichael out in front, followed by Nick Way, Damon Huffman, Mike LaRocco, and Heath Voss. Your top 5. Great run for Jason Thomas and Tyler Evans. Congratulations to all of them. Right now, let's send it down on the track. Jamie Littles with our winner.
Well, Ricky Carmichael takes home his 2nd win in a row now, but he walks up on the podium and he goes, man, this is going to be my lucky year. Ricky, you had a couple close calls there. Take us through the race.
Oh, my gosh. I felt like a beginner sometimes, you know. You know, the track got really gnarly and there's a lot of rocks, so you'd be going and then all of a sudden you go sideways or this and that, and I had some lucky moments out there tonight. You know, I feel good going into Anaheim. This is a build-up for that, and really happy to put Nikita Suzuki up top.
Take us through the start. You didn't get the best start. You got off on the third, but take us through the pass for the lead over Kyle Lewis.
You know what? Kyle's been getting really good starts, so I think I was the first two-stroke, and you know what? I just kind of got a good drive through the hoops over here, and was able to get by him around the turn. And you know, I've just been trying to keep my speed up everywhere, and I want this title bad, really, really, really bad, and I'm ready for it.
All right, Ricky Carmichael could be your THQ World Supercross GP champion, but you're going to have to stay tuned and watch the rest of the rounds. Guys?
It all culminates in Las Vegas, Nevada on May 7th. Our finale should be a great show.
I'm ready to roll the dice, Todd.
Before we do that, let's check our THQ World Supercross GP point standings. You'll see Ricky Carmichael perfect in Canada, Laronco Way tied for second, then David Huff, the Heat boss, and Tyler Evans. Cameron, your final thoughts?
I just want to say Nick Wade came through the goods. A superb ride for him, vaulting himself up there in the points.
Our next show, January 9th, 12 to 2 Eastern. Check your local listings. So from Vancouver, Canada, we say good night on behalf of Jamie Little and Cameron Steele. I'm Todd Harris. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Good night from Vancouver. Your winner, Ricky Carmichael.